Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ernest Sears, author of Detox Your Circle, coming to you once again on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Mesa, Arizona. I am located in Las Sendas. There are so many little areas where you can have a picnic. You can just have some time alone to enjoy nature. And I have taken such an opportunity this Saturday afternoon to come to you and share with you these beautiful surroundings. I have a couple of things I want to cover today. I want to talk about the newness that's in the air. There is a definite newness, a clearing in the air. And I want to chat about how you might take advantage of that right now. The next thing I want to talk about is your template, your history, and your knowledge of that, your self-awareness of that, and why it is required in order for you to move forward in this newness, and for you to be able to hold the new things that you are creating and things that are being created in a certain new pattern, that you can't go back to the old patterns and paradigms as you move into and embrace this newness that we're all experiencing. And the last thing is just really having an understanding of how important it is for you to understand your own blueprint, your own template, and get a feel for where that came from and what it's based on. And once you have that self-awareness of your template, like the reasons why you react and respond the way you do, the roles that you play in groups, on projects, the roles that you play in a relationship consistently, having an understanding of why that is the case will allow you to leverage it more intelligently, leverage it with more of an emotional aptitude, so the outcomes can be different from the outcomes you've experienced in the past, and you can continue to really walk into the newness of what is being gifted to us right now. So those are the three things I'm going to cover. I may even touch on the practical purpose of twin flames and the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate. I think that we're moving into an area where our relationships are probably at the fore. They're being highlighted because a lot of what's going on internally is being acted out in our external relationships. And having an understanding of what is the difference between a twin flame relationship and a soulmate relationship will allow you to be able to respond in self-awareness and not allow yourself to get triggered, or at the very least understand why you're being triggered, and that you're actually being triggered can be for a practical purpose for you to see yourself and how you are showing up in that situation. So let's see if we can cover all those things, but those are the things that came down to me today that I want to share. As always, if any of you out there have things that you want to comment on, if you have a question that occurs to you, do not hesitate to go ahead and type it in. I will read it. I will read that question and I will respond to it to the best of my ability. I also would like you to DM me if you need to. And understand that I'm certainly not a person that has all the answers. I don't. No one has all the answers. But to the degree that I believe that I'm hearing and I'm seeing and I'm feeling things that are insightful, that will be helpful to you, I'm sharing those in faith. I'm sharing those with courage. I'm sharing those in humility. Because I feel that the gift that I have is not for me to keep to myself. It's not for me to be, a shining light that's hidden somewhere. I think as I'm unfolding and I'm growing, I'm learning to share what I have, because what I have is really for you. It's not just for me, it's for the world. And I've accepted that. And I'm embracing that. And I'm hoping that that light, that unique light that's inside you, you will begin to develop the passion, the desire, the courage to share your light, and in an understanding that we have something to gain from your knowledge and from your unique wisdom also. So let's get started. As I said, there's a newness in the air. It's an opportunity to understand that what you've been created now is being manifest. The things that you've been thinking about and dwelling on and working on over the past several years, months, things that you have a passion for that had not yet come to fruition, those things now are safe. Those things, their time has come. So there is a clearing that is happening, that as these old structures and systems and mindsets, injustices and old ways, orthodoxical ways of looking at things, as those are falling by the wayside, space is being made, a clearing is being opened up for the new, for new ways of thinking, progressive ways of living. A new space, a clearing is being made for your newness, for the newness in you that is growing and being cultivated, that needs to come out. And so as you interact, do so with the mindset that it's time for you to be courageous enough to allow those wise insights that are coming to you, those pieces of knowledge and nuggets of wisdom that you know that you've experienced. The time is now for you to begin to share those, to begin lacing your conversation and your discussions with your wisdom, with your knowledge, with your insights, in faith, knowing that those people that you're interacting with are there for a reason. Some of them are there to give you confidence to share your knowledge and your wisdom. And they're only going to confirm that what you're saying is legitimate and is good and has purpose. Others are there because they're at your feet, because what you have to say is actually going to help heal them and actually help shed some light on their own journey and allow them to derive confidence from what you're saying. And other people are going to test you. Other people are going to push back on your wisdom, on your insights, and on the way that you see the world. And they're going to push back and require you to elaborate, require you to really understand what you're saying. And as you interact with those three types of people, I didn't plan to talk about this, but this is what's happening right now. As you interact with those three types of people, you are going to expand, you are going to deepen, and you are going to derive even more confidence in who you are and who you are becoming. And as such, be able to feel this clearing, this newness, this new opportunity to live into the next dimension of what is being offered us. It's allowing you to understand that there is room for you to expand and fill this newness up with you and your new ideas and your new way of living. And there is room for you. There's no longer a reason for you to hold back. There is room for you. And as you go through this process, what's going to happen is that your bandwidth, your ability to accommodate and to hold that wisdom, to hold the newness, is expanding and deepening. And you're going to be growing by leaps and bounds. So continue to do that. Hi there. Is that, let's see, Zegzy411, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Awesome. If there's anything that you missed, feel free to come back in the next 30 minutes or so and listen to what I said at the very beginning so that you don't miss anything. But I will continue for probably another 35 minutes. So thank you so much for joining me. So the next thing I want to talk about is that this newness is going to require you to fill it up with your newness. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that your patterns and your old ways of thinking and your paradigms are going to have to be checked. What does that mean? It means that you are going to have to be a better observer of yourself. You are going to have to reach back to 2020, the year of retrogrades, the year of reflection. And you are going to have to remember the things that you learned about yourself. When the earth stopped, and it did, the earth stood still, didn't it? It seemed like a whole year. The earth stood still, literally. When it stopped, the velocity that we experienced when it stopped, it's like if you're in a car accident and you put on the brakes because you don't want to hit the car, but you put the brakes on so hard that the velocity of the car is what you take with you when you go through that windshield. Are you following me? So Earth stopped, but all of us still continued because the velocity of the Earth is still something that we were still being transported by. So the Earth stopped and gave us an opportunity. Listen to this. It gave us an opportunity to observe our own personal velocity. What does that mean? It gave us an opportunity to see our own interactions, to see the dynamics of our patterns, to see the dynamics of our paradigms and the way that we on a daily basis were interacting. It allowed us to sit back and watch ourselves go through the motions of many, many hollow and many meaningless types of situations. The earth stood still and stopped, but we kept going. And we kept going in a way that shed light on the futility of some of the things that we were engaged in. Are you following me? So with that lesson, understanding what were the futile for some of you, things that you were engaging in, actions, paradigms, patterns, what were some of those hollow, meaningless, insignificant patterns, unproductive patterns, and paradigms and mindsets that you were engaged in that you realize now were not going to be of benefit to you or anyone in your life that you love. And so what I'm asking you to do is to reflect on those patterns that you realized are no longer going to be of benefit to you as we move into this newness, and you begin to create a new pattern. Extricate yourself, emerge from the old patterns that did not have any type of meaning or purpose. And now, as you observe yourself, because you've become more skillful at that, now adjust your responses to things that are happening in your life so that you're no longer interacting in the old predictable way that was not bringing you the outcomes that were going to be of benefit to you. Are you following me? What I'm saying right now is really big, so you might want to write it down or come back and listen to this again. But as we see this clearing and experience this clearing, this newness in the air that is very palpable right now, if you are a spiritual person or if you are beginning to rely more on your intuition, you are noticing that there is a clearing, there is a newness, there is a freshness, there is an opening for you to walk into something that's new. But as you walk into it, you can't be old. This reminds me of a parable. And in this parable, the main lesson was that you cannot add new wine to old skins. You cannot pour new wine into old skins. Where the skins were made from animal skins, and the wine, when you poured it into the skin, if you poured new wine into the old skin couldn't hold it. It would break. And then what happens when you try to pour new wine into old skins is that you lose the skin and you lose the wine. Okay? So you don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to pour in new knowledge, new insights, a newness of life and opportunity, trying to pour that into an old pattern, try to pour that into an old paradigm that can no longer hold the newness, that can no longer hold the beauty and newness and multidimensionality of where we're headed. So what is the old skin? The old skin is what you shed in 2020. The old skin are the old patterns and the old paradigms that no longer work, that you have been given many opportunities to see that they no longer work. You have seen evidence and proof that these patterns that you were in, these paradigms, these old ways of reacting and being triggered no longer work. But now, I'm sure we understand that there's a difference between knowledge and applying that knowledge. There's so many things that we all know, but applying that knowledge in our lives and leveraging in our lives, that's a completely different thing, isn't it? But we have to graduate to the point where we take our understanding, our knowledge, and begin to apply it, because it's not that merely knowledge is power. The application of knowledge is power. There's a plane right above me. I'll let that pass there, right? So, you are the old skin that needs to shed, and then you need to, as you realize that you are new, as you realize that you are now making new decisions and new choices based on the new knowledge that you have, as you catch yourself reacting to people in situations the old way, and you say to yourself, I used to react this way, but instead of making the choice to say this in this situation, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to say this. You are no longer reactive. That is the new you. That is the new skin. You are now responsive. You now respond to situations now. You no longer just have the trigger knee-jerk reaction, because now you are an observer of your own self. 2020 taught you that. Okay? So you are going to walk into this clearing as a new skin that will hold the new wine, and you will be able to accommodate and have a bigger, larger bandwidth to receive these bigger downloads, receive insights and wisdom that you did not have the attention span to receive before, or to even realize you were receiving. The universe is always sending you messages. The universe is always leaving gifts for you. But if you're busy in the process of going through motions that have no significance, have no meaning, and are just based on trauma and old templates from your childhood, you are not going to see the magic of the newness, the magic of the new insights and the wisdom that the universe, God, Spirit is always showing you. Are you following me so far? So we want to escape and emerge from the old patterns and the old paradigms, or shed that old skin, right? And realize that we have grown a new skin. We have learned from our past mistakes, and we have learned from the patterns that no longer serve us, and now we are consciously creating new patterns by responding differently to the issues and the challenges and the circumstances and the people in our lives that are coming to us. We're responding differently, okay? And just responding differently in itself is building that new skin, building that new person, allowing you to create a new type of life for yourself, allowing you to bring to fruition and into manifestation those things that you've been working on the past several years that are now, although they're in gestation, they are coming to the point of fruition where you're going to give birth to something new, something that you have been cultivating and incubating inside you for the past several years, but they have not yet seen the light of day, but they will, okay? And they will, because you are now going to be more of a person of faith. You're going to have faith in your own dream. You're going to have faith in your own wisdom and insights that are unique to you, the downloads that you are receiving for your edification. And as you begin to apply that wisdom and that knowledge to your own creation, to your new skin, and do that in a way that is consistent and sustaining, all of that is going to just flow out into the rest of your world. And people are going to look at you and see that you have become something new, that you have become something that is different from who you were as recently as last year. Okay? So we covered two things. We covered the newness in the air that is taking place right now, the clearing, the clarity, and that there's a lot of room for you to, number two, walk in a newness of a new pattern and a new creation of your own doing, and to apply the lessons of the old patterns and the old paradigms to the new you, to become more and more the observer, not just of your external life, but your internal life, the observer of yourself, the observer of your heart, the observer of how you respond, how you feel when someone says something to you. Instead of like defending yourself immediately, just relax, breathe, and let yourself feel what is happening to you, how you are feeling about what that person said, what they did. How are you feeling about this event or these circumstances? And being an observer, understanding that you yourself is worthy of you observing yourself so that you can make better choices and decisions and have more informed and insightful responses to what happens. As you do this on a daily basis, you are becoming little by little by little a completely new person, because you are expanding into more than you ever have been. But what I'm saying to you, my message, is to give yourself the opportunity to flourish. Give yourself the opportunity to unpack all of what is inside you that is due to come out. Things that are now experiencing the opportune moment in your history to flourish and to grow. Let that happen, but cultivate it by being an observer of yourself. And as you observe yourself, you will find that you're much more intrigued with your own life. You're much more intrigued with your own development and how you now interact with the external world. You will be much more intrigued and much more focused on the utility of what you bring to any situation. Okay? I think I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here, and hopefully you can stay with me. Keep tracking me. If what I'm saying resonates with you, if you're learning anything, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to say a lot more probably in the next 15 minutes. You may want to share this with someone. And remember, I'm also going to be saving this, and you will be able to come back and review it. I'm also going to be uploading it to YouTube. So this will be here for you to come back to look at if you need to. So what I want to do right now is I want to talk a little bit more about this point. I hadn't planned to go this deep, but I'm being summoned and called to channel a little bit more about your blueprint, a little bit more about your template. So as we understand that knowing our own history and being self-aware of who we are and the patterns that we have employed in the past and how those need to be shed, it's occurring to me that we need to understand where the old patterns came from. So oftentimes, we don't realize it, but the person that we are in groups how we show up in groups and in individual situations with the outside world, the external world, is based, I'd say 99% on your role in your home as a child. It is based a lot on your birth order. It's based a lot on the role that you played in that family that you grew up in. So if you were the oldest child, there's a certain role that you played. There's a certain agreement that you had with your parents and your siblings where you were relied on to be a particular type of leader and a type of caretaker in the absence of your parents. Depending on your generation, you may had more of a leadership role with your siblings. If that is you, which that's also me, that means that as you grew up, as you developed and grew up and became more and more of who you are, as you went out into the world, into your first job, into your clubs, into your interactions with people in groups, you will find that it was easy for you and even convenient for you to take on the role of the leader or the caretaker if you are a firstborn. So that firstborn template or blueprint is something that you take with you for the rest of your life. And you, hopefully, 2020 has allowed you to see the meaning of that pattern and how it has been good for you, but also how it may not necessarily have been positive. So you have to be able to pull from your pattern the positives, and you want to continue to take those things with you. And the negative or the shadow aspects of that pattern of being a firstborn, you leave those behind. That is what it means to grow. That is what it means to step into this newness, this clarity that is before us. If you are the secondborn or the middle child, your pattern, your blueprint, your template is that of sometimes feeling like the outsider. Usually the firstborn and the youngest, they have relationships with the parents and the caretakers that are much more pronounced, that are much more demonstrable, that are much more defined than your role. So you're kind of the odd man out. There's nothing wrong with it. Nobody did anything wrong. Some things, it's just the way they are. It is what it is. So as a middle child, what happens is because you don't have that defined role in the family, you go out into the external world. Even as a child, you had friendships. You had more friendships that are outside the family than within the family because your role inside the family was so nebulous. It was not very defined. And so you sought those connections and relationships outside so that you can feel good about who you were. This is what middle children do. Sometimes they're the black sheep, are called that way. Sometimes they become the leader. Sometimes the middle child, because of the wisdom and the insight that they derive from those expanded relationships outside the family, they actually become the wise sibling. They become the one with the true authentic leadership because they are no longer, or they decided not to, or for purposes of exigency, they just did not buy into the patterns that the parents set. So usually the firstborn and sometimes the younger, but usually the firstborn is going to be the one that will inherit the patterns and the paradigms from the parents. The secondborn oftentimes will not inherit those because they will see the negative aspects of that, or at least the aspects of those patterns in the older sibling that are not conducive to things that are positive. So the secondborn or the middle child often learns the lessons that the firstborn are still in the process of learning, because that secondborn, that middle child, can see objectively how these patterns are affecting or impacting that firstborn's life. Are you following me? So that secondborn or that middle child can become the wise one as a result of that, or they can become the black sheep because they went outside of the family unit to build relationships that highlighted them, that caused them to feel a sense of meaning and worth in their lives, okay? And as a middle child or black sheep or second born, you are going to be able to, as you grow older, you will see that your role in the world is going to reflect the role that you had in your family as a child. And those are always going to have polarities. They're going to have positive aspects and negative aspects. And the goal that we all have is to reflect our own patterns. And as I said earlier, continue with those patterns that are positive and that bode well for our futures, and completely disregard or discard those negative patterns that are not providing us the type of fulfillment that we need. So there's one more thing about the second child or the middle child that I think is important to know. Oftentimes you have, and this has happened, you can see this chronicled in literature, including the Bible, where their second child not only sees that the older child is, or the oldest is in a pattern that is not going to lead to anything fresh and new and fulfilling, they actually decide that their level of wisdom outpaces the oldest so much that they try to take over the older person's spot. They try to usurp the firstborn role. And many secondborns are successful in doing that. And those are, I've seen that happen in several families where the firstborn becomes so enamored with the patterns, negative that is, patterns of the parents, that the middle child or the secondborn is able to outpace the growth of the oldest and become the oldest virtually. And that firstborn, as a result, experiences a lot of failure and a lot of feelings of ineptitude and a lot of feelings of not meeting up to the challenge because of that issue that happened between the oldest and the middle child, where it transposed, the roles transposed. And so what could happen as the middle child is that you can have a life in that you know that no matter what the authorities are in that particular situation, because you've had that experience of being transposed into the top spot, you have the faith knowing that no matter what situation you're in, that you can rise up to the top spot. You can rise up and completely usurp whatever the authority is and become the authority. So those are some of the pieces of nuggets that I have learned about the firstborn and the secondborn or middle child roles and how those play out in your life. The last is the youngest. So the youngest is usually someone who there are two different, there's a couple of different ways it plays out. The youngest is used to things being done for them. They're used to the path being laid, so they don't have to be a pioneer. The pioneering was already done by the first, and the refining was done by the second or the middle child. And the last one, the youngest, just has to sit there and just enjoy, because everybody is taking care of the younger one. Everybody is a caretaker for that younger one. And so what happens is that as that younger one grows up, they are so used to just using their charm and so used to just receiving help and assistance that takes them through life until they may have a rude awakening where there's a circumstance where people are deciding that they're not going to come to your rescue, and you have this dark night of the soul where you realize that no one's coming to save you, and that you're going to have to grow into someone who can save his or herself. So that happens to a lot of younger or youngest siblings. The other thing I've seen is this, where the youngest sibling, because there might be a gap in distance in age between the middle child and the youngest, sometimes the youngest can become like an oldest or an only child if the gap in ages is 5 years, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. That youngest can be seen as a firstborn, or live a life as a firstborn, or live a life as an only child, because they are home alone. Their older siblings have gone off to college, and so they've had more time to develop great, strong, life-affirming relationships with their parents, and so they can fill an entire room. They had a room to themselves, and they had some positive solitude growing up, so they could fill an entire room with their personality, and they can give themselves room to breathe and not have to fend off a younger or an older sibling. And so I find that there are lots of younger siblings or youngest siblings who actually grow into very, very well-rounded, self-sufficient people, because they did not have to contend with other siblings. And so they can be very similar to an only child who grows up being extremely self-sufficient, and someone who does not automatically have that knee-jerk reaction of going outside themselves for help, because they've had the opportunity and the time to learn, as we all learn at some point, that everything we need we already have on the inside. Okay, so I wanted to cover that so that you can understand the archetypes of different siblings, and how you take those roles with you throughout your life, and how it is your responsibility, regardless of the cards that you were dealt, it is your responsibility to heal. It is your responsibility to take from your life the positive aspects and apply that knowledge to your present and your future. Okay? Hopefully that is something that you are finding helpful, that I was able to point out for you. So the next thing I want to cover has to do with twin flames and soulmates. All right? So I think this will be the last thing I cover, and I also will definitely take questions. Okay? So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the practicality and the purpose of a twin flame and of a soulmate. Oftentimes in our lives, we're going to definitely meet that twin flame first. So the twin flame is your opposite. The twin flame is your mirror. The twin flame has all of those characteristics that you do not see in yourself. And so the polarity is so strong that you draw each other. The attraction is very, very, very strong, okay, with a twin flame. And so the purpose of a twin flame is to shed some light on who you are, and to show you that you do have the ability, and you do have within yourself, to be everything that this other person is reflecting back to you that you think you don't have or possess. That is the purpose of a twin flame. And twin flames may come in and out of our lives opportunistically, to allow the universe, to allow spirit, to allow God to show us what we need to do to cultivate aspects of ourselves that we think are not there. That is what the twin flame does. And oftentimes we're so addicted and codependent in a twin flame relationship that we do not realize that we need to leave that relationship after a while and begin to apply the lessons learned from that relationship to ourselves. Oftentimes in a twin flame relationship, we are either the caretaker or we are the one being taken care of. And so if you are someone in a twin flame relationship where you're being taken care of, what you're being taught is that what that other partner, that other person is doing for you, what you think that person does for you that you can't do for yourself, you can actually do. Your life is teaching you that those qualities are qualities that you actually have. And in order for you to cultivate and develop and grow into a well-rounded person that is going to accomplish wonderful things in life, you will have to find those traits, those qualities in yourself, so that you no longer have a codependent relationship with your twin flame. And vice versa, if you are the type of person who is like I am, who is always the caretaker, who is always providing, who is always taking care of people, who is always kind of learning other people so well that you can guess what their needs are, anticipate their needs, what happens is that you're spoiling that other person so that they do not develop those skills, those life skills to be able to take care of themselves. And what happens to you is that when they do begin to do those things and learn how to take care of themselves, you question your role and you question your actual worth, when in fact it is that person's job to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and learn how to take care of themselves. So twin flame relationships are temporary. They're not meant to last forever, but they are there to teach us how to be who we are supposed to be. And we all benefit from twin flame relationships, but we're not supposed to stay in those relationships for life. Your soulmate is going to be someone who allows you to grow and allows you to be everything that you have on the inside without feeling guilty and without feeling bad about some of the parts of you that are in your shadow. Your soulmate is a more mature relationship that typically you don't encounter early in life. You normally are not going to meet your soulmate in your teens or your 20s. It is something that's going to happen after you've had that Saturn return and after you've begun to engage in some self-knowledge, some self-love, and some self-care. And that is when you're going to be balanced enough not to draw such a polar opposite, such a mirror that is going to shine light on what you perceive to be in lack of, right? Your soulmate is going to reflect where you are in a way that is developed, well-rounded, in a way that is self-sufficient, and will allow you to live a life that allows you to step out of your comfort zone, that allows you to make decisions that may not even involve that soulmate, but they understand you enough to know that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and you're making choices that are outside them. That does not really threaten your bond. And so many of us are still in twin flame relationships at an old age. And when those are coming to an end, we find ourselves mourning what we think is our soulmate, and oftentimes it is not our soulmate. And so my recommendation to you, as now you're understanding the difference between the twin flame and the soulmate relationship, my advice to you, my recommendation is to dig deep and reflect and understand that if you are with someone who is always providing you with the things that you don't have, always showing up for you in ways that don't cultivate your ability to be self-sufficient, that is most likely a twin flame relationship that probably needs to come to an end, alas. Okay? And so your soulmate is not going to show up until you have learned the lessons of the twin flame relationship. And so how do we put this all together? We put this together such that the lessons of 2020, number one, allow us to apply those lessons, those nuggets, to the future, to this newness that is happening right now, to this clarity that's taking place right now. You do not want to move forward in situations and relationships that are not going to bode well for your ultimate development and the cultivation of your spirit. And so understand that if you are in a twin flame relationship, there's nothing wrong with it. We all are moving along at our own pace, okay? There is no rush. But be an observer. See yourself and see the relationship and the circumstances for what they really are. Set your expectations so that you're not expecting it to be an eternal, perennial type of situation. Understand that the purpose of a twin flame, if your relationship is a twin flame, understand that there's a beauty to it and that it is only holding up a mirror to show yourself who you can be if you dig deep inside and get rid of some of the codependency, some of the attachments to crutches, to old systems, to old patterns, that twin flame oftentimes is forcing you to draw a line in the sand. It is forcing you to come up with boundaries so that you can take care of yourself. Okay? That was a lot, and I wasn't expecting all of that to come out, but I'm hoping that you were able to get something out of it. I find that when I'm giving these talks and I'm presenting on Instagram Live, that sometimes I'm hearing something for the first time too. And so it's kind of cool and magical that way. But what I'd like to do is what I always do towards the end. I like to make sure that you have a way of contacting me if you are looking for coaching. If you are looking for someone to help you with some of the questions that are being posed in your life that you don't have the answers to, this is my business, SOS Consulting. This is my email address, and this is also my website. And you can go there and you can read more about what I do and set up an appointment. This is the information about my book, and another way to contact me if you need to. There's an email address there, okay? And again, I will be saving this, and you will be able to view this later, and the information is here. That's my book, Detox Your Circle, where I talk about the 13 red flags that you need to cleanse from your life in order to activate your destiny and develop into the person that you were meant to be. At the bottom of this is a link that will allow you to actually go and buy the book. It is an ebook. You can get it on Kindle. It is in soft cover and also hardcover. Okay. So that is it for me. Also on Instagram, you may also go to my coaching account, which is Dream Coach. It is Dream _ there's a line _ and then coach. If you type that in, you're gonna find my account, and you will be able to go to the link that will allow you to schedule a time with me. And that is something that I would love. If you want to do that, you can. But otherwise, enjoy this beautiful day. Remember that there is a newness right now. There is a freshness. There is something happening right now that has never happened. And it is an opportunity for you to seize the day, to seize the moment, to seize your life, and become something new, do something new, respond instead of react. And as you do that over and over and over again, you're going to realize that you have become someone different. Okay? Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.